Hello everybody, I'm Michael, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to get the Truth Exotic Rocket Launcher in Destiny 2 Season of Opulence. This quest was just made available by the weekly reset for the first weekly reset of Season of Opulence. It is now June 11th, and that is the first day that it is available. I was able to grind it out with a friend over the course of about 3.5 hours, and right now I'm going to show you all the steps that you need to complete this. It's a fairly kind of laborious quest, but I definitely think it's possible. I would also recommend having at least one friend, maybe even two. In the clips that we have here, it was just me and one of my friends, but definitely having another person would make this a little bit easier. But let's go ahead and get into the quest. Upon loading into Destiny this morning, I was greeted with a news message about the Truth Exotic Rocket Launcher quest, as well as a picture of the exotic weapon, and it said to go into the menagerie to begin the quest. So my clan and I hopped into a run of the menagerie, and we ended up beating it fairly easily. We ended up getting a flawless run on both of our sections. We got Arcborn and the crystals, and we were able to get a flawless on that. Unfortunately, I had completed both of those flawlessly before, but anyway, once we got to the boss, we were able to beat him fairly easily. This boss is definitely a lot easier than last week, or at least I think it is so far. I've only done it once. But after defeating the boss, you don't even have to open the chest. You are given an exotic quest called a Scrap of Paper, which will begin you on your way to getting the Truth Rocket Launcher. The Scrap of Paper quest step prompts you to talk to Petra Venj. Once you've completed that, she gives you a new quest step called Hidden Between Realities, which prompts you to complete one of Petra's Ascendant Challenge bounties in the Dreaming City. Luckily, the Ascendant Challenge is very easy to get to this week. It is in the Lost Sector directly behind spawn. All you need to do is spawn into the only location you can on the Dreaming City, turn around 180 degrees, and then just walk in. If you get about halfway through, it's in a little back cove area, and once you get there, you're just able to jump in. The Ascendant Challenge this week is fairly easy. All you need to do is make your way down to this bottom section via a large amount of jumping puzzles just kind of downward. It's a large spiral, but you can skip almost half of it by just kind of jumping down right as soon as you spawn. But once you defeat the wizards, you are able to open the chest, and that is what gives you your next quest step. Now is where I believe the real quest begins, where you are prompted to do a multitude of different tasks. The first one being to find a Ascendant chest on Nessus near the cistern. This was fairly difficult for me to find. It took me about 5 minutes to find it, but obviously I'm going to show it to you guys here. I'm also not 100% sure whether or not you need the Ascendance buff. I was able to use it on Nessus, so I just used it because I wanted to make sure that I'd be able to find it the first time. But if you go to the location where I am without Ascendance and they're there, that's great. You don't need to use one of these, because this is definitely a tincture heavy exotic. You're going to need at least 2, maybe 3. But this definitely makes it a lot easier if you don't have to use a tincture to get this first chest. But here on screen now, I'm showing where to go for the chest. It is just kind of behind the big cistern location. There's a whole lake of the Vex fluid here, and you just need to do a little bit of jumping puzzle. The first couple jumps are fairly easy, and then in the middle it is a little bit more difficult, but it's nothing that you shouldn't be able to get done to get your first chest. For this quest, not only are you going to have to recover these 3 map pieces by doing these activities, you're also going to have to do activities to decode them. The first activity that you need to do to decode one of the maps is the one for the Nessus chest, and you need to return one of the Corsair badges to one of the Corsair hideouts. The Corsair badge is just a random drop. It'll give you a little clue in its text about where you need to go, and you are going to inspect a body of a downed Corsair and then fight an enemy that spawns after you do that. And once you do that, you will get a completed Corsair badge, and you will need to take that to one of the Corsair hideouts. The easiest one that I found is once you spawn in the Dreaming City, you will need to take a left and just kind of follow the cliff line around to the left. You'll find a cave opening. There will be a bunch of Corsairs in there with some weapons racks and some tables, maps, chairs, everything, and then you just need to present it to one of the Corsairs there, and that will encode your first map. The clue for the next map fragment says to defeat a Child of the Darkness in the Tangled Jetsam. This is referring to the Jetsam of Saturn on the Tangled Shore. Where you need to go is into the area where you go for the Mindbender mission, and you go in there and you don't have to go into the portal or anything. You just run through until you get to that last room before where the portal is, and there is going to be a large shrieker and an ogre. You need to defeat both of those, and once you defeat them, the ogre will drop your next map fragment. The final obtainable map fragment comes from fighting alongside the Chosen as night falls. This refers to completing a Nightfall strike. All you need to do is complete a Nightfall strike. My friend and I did the Hollowed Lair strike just because we thought that made the most sense, since it said the Chosen, and in that strike there's the Fanatic, and he has the Fanatic's Chosen. So we ended up doing that, but I don't believe that you have to do that strike. I think you can do any of the Nightfall strikes you want this week. I believe that we have Warden of Nothing, the Pyramidion, and Hollowed Lair. So you just do whichever one of those you would like to complete, and you'll be able to get your next map fragment. To decode the next map fragment, you are going to need to get 50 rocket launcher kills while Ascendant on Nessus. This is fairly easy to do. All you need to do is pop one of your Tincture of Queen's Foil consumables, go into one of the lost sectors, use all of your ammo up. I recommend using the Wardcliff coil just because it has such a high possibility for getting multiple kills with one shot. And once you run out of ammo, you go rally the flag at one of the public events, come back, and then rinse and repeat until you are able to get all of your kills, and then that will decode your next map fragment. In my opinion, the third map fragment is the most difficult to decode because you have to get 60 rocket launcher kills and defeat 3 Nightfalls, all while you are affected by a power cap of 100 or more. This makes it fairly difficult because that means all of the enemies are a lot stronger and deal a lot more damage. I would definitely recommend once again using the Wardcliff coil, putting on Arc Singe and Heavyweight, and heading into the Pyramidion. Normally most of the enemies do not have a whole lot of arc damage. This just means that you are able to run through the strike fairly quickly, and as long as you have a Warlock with a Well of Radiance and Lunafaction, you can beat the boss in about 3 or 4 seconds, which is just going to save you a lot of time because you can just go through the entire strike, just run through all the enemies, and then just complete this. You'll also probably just get your 60 rocket launcher kills in the strikes that you're doing normally, but if not, you can always just load into a Nightfall strike with 100 power cap, run into a lost sector, and then just finish it up that way. Currently, there is something a little bit off about the fourth map fragment. To get it, you actually have to go back to Petra and get it from her abandoned quest section, which is really weird to me. I'm assuming this is a bug and there's normally supposed to be a normal way to get it, but as of now, the only way to get the map fragment is to go to Petra, which means you don't have to do anything to earn it. All you have to do is decode it, and to decode it, you need to get 100 hive kills on the Tangled Shore, and it also says that defeating powerful opponents will grant more efficient progress, and if you do this with a team, all the kills share as long as you're in a fairly close radius with your team. I ended up being very lucky and getting one of the Hive public events with the containment cell from the Prison of Elders, and I was able to get 100% very quickly. It took maybe 2 or 3 minutes to finish it up, but that is the final map fragment that you have to decode. Onto the final step. After decoding all 4 of your map fragments, you are told to go into the Warden of Nothing strike and open an Ascendant chest. But before you do that, you are going to need to have a Tincture of Queen's Foil and use that consumable once you spawn into the strike. Luckily, you are given one right before this quest step, so that does make it a lot easier. Also, during the strike, you are going to have to activate a few different Dreaming City artifacts and relics around the area just to activate the platforms that you need so that you are able to open the chest that will give you truth at the end of the strike. And let's go ahead and get onto those locations of the artifacts. The first one is on a box to your left right after you defeat the first wave of Vex. You'll get it even if you just run through the door. It'll prompt as you open the door. It'll say hold X or whatever your interact button is. And as you can see on screen now, it is in the top left on top of that box. The next one is in the train section where you're having to dodge the different prisoner transports. Unfortunately, I just kind of drove past it because I didn't see it at all, but also my teammate did find it right behind me, and I did see it on screen later when I was looking at the footage, so I'll point it out here. It is on the right as soon as you get to the little pike section. There are 2 bays of pikes, and it is in the back right-hand corner of the second bay of pikes. The next one is in the next train section. It is in a little lower area where you can go to dodge the trains. All you have to do is drop down, walk into the center kind of transfer area, and hold interact on it. The fourth relic is in the section right after the train area. It's in the tunnel just after you go up this little ramp here, and it is in the hallway. You can't really miss it. In this gameplay that I have here, the random person in my game had already gotten it, so I couldn't see it, but I know this is where this one is because I had gone through this before, but it is right there in this hallway. The fifth and final artifact is in the room where you have to fight the mini-boss Minotaur. It is in the back right-hand corner from where you enter on one of the Prison of Elders big kind of prison cells. You'll see it's just a bright glowing disc, and that is your final one. And if you did it right, it will show up with a text on your screen that says all platforms have been revealed. After you have defeated the Warden Servitor and you have the mission complete screen, you are going to have 87 seconds to get your weapon. You are going to need to stand on his little wall there. You can see where he originally spawns in that big blue dome. You're just going to have to stand on the little edge, wait for the ascendant platforms to appear. Make sure you have your tincture popped at this point, and then you're just going to follow those around until you get to the chest and claim your exotic rocket launcher Truth. So here is your reward, the exotic Truth rocket launcher. It is back from Destiny 1, and I'm definitely glad about that. I used it a lot in D1, and I'm glad to be able to use it in D2. I haven't gotten to use it yet, because as soon as I got it, I came to make this video to help you guys get it as well. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as comment any questions or anything you may have, and I'll see you later.